And welcome back to The Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm John Wilson.
I'm Gordon Damasky.
And I'm Captain Ron Fortier.
And you're listening to Zone 4. What we're about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, we would gladly welcome Linda Carter on an episode of Zone 4. Or any woman, for that matter. Despite what Gordon says. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering Zone 4. Alright, so welcome back to The Zone, everybody. This is episode 291 as we tick away to that 300th episode.
Oh, it's creeping up way too fast, guys.
It is.
Way too fast.
And as usual, we have no idea what we're doing yet. So,
I want to thank those floods of suggestions you people have been sending us.
Right, yeah. No,
and I want to thank all those people for sending me suggestions. Mm-hmm. However, just for the people sending me suggestions, some of your suggestions are really disrespectful to my co-hosts. So no, I'm not going to be following them.
I love our emails at our Zone 4 address. Stuff like Ultimate Survival Guide on How to Survive Ebola. Rates lowered to 2.78. We need actual suggestions and actual emails here. We're getting a lot of spam.
Here. I've got the Ultimate Guide for Surviving Ebola. Don't catch it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Don't go to Africa and Texas. Easy.
Uh-oh.
And in fact, you know, I know we usually do our What's Going On coming out. John and I have actually collaborated on a great business guide. It's called How to Turn $1 Million in Real Estate into $5 in Cash. So go out and buy that.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting read there. Before we get too far off track here, we should mention we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find us each and every Friday on comicspodcasts.com. So go check us out there and all the other places you can find us. So.
Are we really proud, though?
We are proud. We're very proud.
I prefer to be humble about things myself, but go ahead and be proud if you want.
Okay, well, John, I don't think the question is whether we're proud of being part of the network. I think the question is whether they are proud to have us.
Well, there's that.
That is a really good question. I don't think I want to necessarily know the answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask. We probably wouldn't like the answer.
Oh, shoot. So, this past weekend, there was this little convention that happened somewhere up in the East Coast. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
Was 151,000 of your closest friends stop by?
Yeah. It outdid San Diego this year, early reports are saying. So that's crazy. New York Comic Con, of course, we're talking about. And lots of news came out of there. And after the convention, lots of news started breaking as well. So it was very interesting how that worked out.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff that's posing as news. which we'll get into as we check these items off, okay?
Right.
Topic time. It's topic time. Headline edition.
So we should dive in because basically we're just doing a topic time headline edition this week on the show because there's so many news things to talk about that we just figured we wouldn't have time to get into a full topic or a comic discussion or anything like that. So. Let's dive into the biggest news, I think, personally, that came out of all this, which is kind of, iffy. We'll see if it actually happens. But it is a pretty big deal, or at least one of the big deals, and I didn't want to bury the lead too much. So Warner Brothers, was it Monday or Tuesday? Monday, I think.
Monday.
Yeah. They announced the DC Comics film slate.
Ooh.
Yeah, playing the movies from 2016, which is when Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice comes out, through 2020 with 10 new films, not including Batman and Superman standalone films that they may sprinkle in between all these.
Well, I find it fascinating that they let this out. Okay, they let this press release out first, all right, and listed these films in order of, when they're going to come out. And let me just run through them really, really quick.
Sure.
So, loyal Legionnaires can listen to that as we talk about these things. Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League Part 1, Aquaman, The Flash, Shazam, Justice League Part 2, Cyborg, and Green Lantern again. Oh, they are crazy people. Anyways, and that came out. And there was, interspersed with this with little tidbits about who's going to be in what, who's going to direct what, et cetera, et cetera. And they made no mention whatsoever about any more Superman standalones or Batmans until, fans looking at this list goes, all right, well, where's the standalone Superman and Batman? It's not even on the list.
Yeah.
And then they came back and, well, we have plans for that. And I'm like, well, they can't be that concrete if you left them out of the list.
Right.
Duh.
Yeah, it's kind of odd the way that's going. I mean, it's like, to me, it's kind of odd that we're getting Justice League split into two parts now. And it looks like the way they're lining these single movies up, because Wonder Woman comes out before the first one. Yeah. And it looks like they're going to focus on like those main three characters in that first Justice League movie. Then Aquaman, Flash, and they get their movies. Then there's Justice League Part 2, and then Cyborg and Grant. It's weird how they're setting this all up. I don't know.
Well, if somebody has a plan, I'm going to be very surprised because, honest to God, this looks like somebody took a shotgun and fired it at the side of the barn, hoping it would hit something,
And Ron, that exactly was the plan. One, get shotgun. Two, hit side of barn.
So let's talk a bit about each one of these. Batman vs Superman, we've already talked about many times, and there's no real new news on that one, so we'll skip that one. Suicide Squad, there was a news story that came out Wednesday of this week, with stars that they are targeting, and they did mention in that initial press release that they were looking at Hollywood heavy hitters to play roles in this.
Right, and this is basically like a wish list for DC, because it's not confirmed as anything. It's just, well, these are possible guys we could get. Yeah. I mean, that's so fanboyish. I'm like, come on, DC. I mean, since when do you guys play in the minor leagues?
Yeah. And looking at these people that they're trying to get, I'm trying to envision these three guys in the same movie, and it just does not fly for me. But okay, the people that we know of that they're looking at right now are Ryan Gosling, Tom Hardy, what's her name, Margot Robbie, who I'm not familiar with, and Will Smith.
So. Right, and obviously when I read that, my first thought was Tom Hardy. Is he going to be Bane again?
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, this is so scattershot everywhere. It's insane. And it's like I say, it's like the marketing department. Basically, somebody at Warner Bros. Walked into the marketing department and said, "Okay, the New York Comic Con is tomorrow. What do you got?" And they had nothing. And he basically said, "Get something out at Comic Con, or you're all fired." And here we go. All right. I mean, this sounds more like what is the Ain't It Cool website than it does actual press releases. And again, a couple items in this that I want to discuss that's part of this whole press release. One, i.e., the good thing. All right, which I thought was always the good thing about that Superman Man of Steel is Amy Adams. Mm-hmm. And supposedly she's going to have a huge part in all of this, especially the Justice League movies. Well, anytime you have Amy Adams as a huge relevant part of anything is a thumbs up in my book. Okay, she's a talented actress, and she was again one of the shining spots in Man of Steel. Whereas the flip side, I'm having coffee. Yesterday's, the day with me and my amigos, Todd and James, who, by the way, I found out both listen to the show every week and were tickled pink that I brought them up when we talked about Squirrel Girl last week.
Nice.
So I'm sure they're both laughing their butts off right now. We were talking yesterday about this very list, in fact, and one of the things that both of them were really upset about was the fact that DC is definitely divorcing its TV personas from the big budget movies. Yeah. So here we are launching what is obviously a hit Flash series with a great cast, and in a couple of years they're going to give us a Flash movie which has no connection to it whatsoever.
Right. And the actor that they've chosen to play whoever, whichever version of the Flash they're going with, is I don't know. I don't know him from anything. I'm looking over his IMDb page right now, and he's been in Californication, Royal Pains, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, stuff like this. He does not look like a Flash type to me, but that's just
right. And considering, like I said, they've gotten the perfect guy to play Barry Allen in the TV show. All right, and if all indications are, and we talk about it, and our friends and our buddies out there in comic book world, this show is so much fun that by the time they make a Flash movie, it's going to have a huge following. How happy are they going to be to go to, walk into a movie theater, pay, $10 for a ticket to watch somebody else? I mean,
I'll tell you exactly how happy, Ron. As happy as fans were when Smallville was going on and they did a Brandon Routh Superman Returns.
There you go. Well, very good. Amazing analogy. You got it, Brandon. Go ahead, John, please.
No, I was going to say, considering how young the kid they have playing Barry looks, they're going to have to get like a preteen to play Wally.
Baby Flash. There you go.
It's just, I don't know.
And honestly, that cast they're looking at Suicide Squad, it looks more like they're trying to cast like the Golden Age, all of them are military people. Suicide Squad rather than the costumed Suicide Squad.
I mean, just get a hold of Sylvester Stallone and tell him to make Expendables 4 as the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no doubt. Got costumes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, is it just me, or wasn't there allegedly, like earlier this summer, a slate of movies that was released from DC?
Yeah.
And to me, this just what this seems like is to kind of bounce off what Ron said. This is like what someone writes in a notebook. This doesn't seem like an actual planned series of films. This is like, okay, it's like if I were, I'm listening to you three Babylons. Okay, what kind of DC movies I do? Okay, I would do a Zatanna film with Jennifer Connelly. I would do a Batgirl film. I would have Linda Carter. Never mind Wonder Woman. I just have Linda Carter. I mean, that's what this reads like to me.
Oh yeah,
it's wishful thinking. It's.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to let Ron get a word in, but this really reads more like what we'd like to see versus okay, how do we lead in? Because like I could see like a Shazam movie. We know that Dwayne Johnson is going to be playing Black Adam,
right?
But and to do any movie, you need at least significant lead time to put funding together, put, script and director and all that together. This reads, if DC's looking at doing this, I think what's going to happen is, like with their comics, they're going to end up tripping and stumbling and just, so to me, this reads more like something you write when you're bored during English class than an actual slate.
Yeah,
I actually have 2 words for this.
Okay.
Marvel catch-up.
Yeah, well, true. Very true.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're playing catch-up with Marvel.
You know what?
Right, if you don't sense that, we'll show Marvel. We're going to put up this list. There, eat that, Marvel.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, what's weird to me, too, is, the one we've heard most about recently is Shazam, and it's not going to be for 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Okay, there you go.
I don't understand, but, if these, as comic fans, obviously, if these do come out and everything, we're going to see them because, we're comic fans. Whether they're going to be good or not, that's a whole other story.
Okay, no offense here, but looking at this list, I can see 1 or 2 that I'll stay home, Brand. Sorry.
Okay, well,
I'm not that much of a glutton for punishment. And no offense, all right? And we'll get on to this in another agenda note here. But, nobody asked me if I wanted an Aquaman movie.
Well,
I don't. Sorry, okay? I mean, it's just like next time I have lobster, I'm going to feel guilty.
If it's Jeff Johns' Aquaman movie, yeah. But if it's, playing Aquaman for the full, no, I don't want to see that movie.
Yeah, well, I said we'd see them. I didn't say we'd go to the theater to see them. But anyway, like I don't think I'm going to go to the theater to see a Cyborg movie. Sorry. Jason Momoa, he was confirmed to be Aquaman, which we already knew. So that's most of the news that we know at this point. What Ron kind of alluded to, which I'll jump a little ahead to talk about this. They released the first clip for the Justice League Throne of Atlantis movie, animated movie, which does have a scene with Arthur Curry kind of making friends with a lobster in a tank, and that was really.
Oh, I mean, the minute I saw that clip, all I kept thinking was Jason Momoa in with blonde hair. Oh, that works really well.
I think you're probably the only one of us, Ron, that feels that way.
I've been a rebel all my life, Gordon.
Because when I saw that clip, I can see the approach, that approach to Aquaman, but it just seemed very. And normally, DC animated movies, even the ones that aren't quite my cup of tea, I can see myself going to watch them only out of curiosity. This is one where I'm like, really? Do I really want to? I don't think so.
I mean, John hit it. Jeff Johns' version of Aquaman when the New 52 launched was really good, and it poked fun at himself. He went in I remember one scene in particular in the comic. He went in a fish shack, it was a seafood place, and ordered food, and everybody's staring at him and like, don't you talk to fish? Why you're eating fish? They were freaking out, and he was like, "I don't talk to fish. It's food."
Like fish aren't that intelligent.
Yeah, fish aren't that intelligent.
Fish can't carry a conversation.
It was perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
But then I was reading an older Justice League, slightly older Justice League title not that long ago, maybe 2 years, and Aquaman was saying, "Well, I learned from some cod." That I heard the story from some cod that this stuff was going on, and I'm like, wait a minute, you don't talk to fish, remember?
Yeah. They retconned that.
Yeah, they retconned that.
Oh shoot!
So, I mean, it's just the thing with that particular item as far as the animated feature, and I've seen the clip a couple times already. And let's just remind our listeners out there that this is part of the New 52, and it is a sequel to Justice League War. Now, having said that, I avoided that particular animation. I love Warner Brothers animation, but New 52 is just not my personal cup of tea. And when I saw the trailers for Justice League War, I let it go. I haven't seen it. I didn't buy it. I didn't look at it. And the comments that I've gotten from my friends who did were all negative. So yeah, I'm all ready for a sequel. No, I don't think so. This falls into that category again. And as far as hey, if there are those of you out there who absolutely love the New 52, then more power to you, and you're probably going to enjoy this thing. I'm pretty much sticking to Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and the now rare animated features they do. If it has their names on them, whatever. But if this is going to be a continuation of New 52 animation, then no thanks, guys.
Well, let me say two things about that, Ron. First of all, Justice League War, the main problem with it was the animation, not the story, in my opinion. But I understand your take. That's not your DC. I get that. The animation does look better in this one. The second thing is, recently DC did confirm that they would, with the animated features, they were going to be diving into both the New 52 and pre-New 52. So you will see more pre-New 52 animated features coming.
Yep. Which I am.
Returning.
Yeah.
And, why not? Why not have, something for both camps,
Right. Exactly. And the way the comics are going, I think they're going to go that same route, but we'll get into that another time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's enough about the DC films for now. We'll touch more when we have more to talk about. The other big movie news was out of Marvel that Civil War is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Robert Downey Jr. I like this. Robert Downey Jr. is going to be in Captain America 3, and it's going to kick off the whole Civil War thing. What? All right, John. I got.
And supposedly everything I've read about this was and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you get bits and pieces all over the internet. Mm-hmm. But initially, Downey wasn't going to.
Right.
Downey was going to do Avengers 2, and I think he had a contractual agreement to do Avengers 3.
Yeah.
And that was it. And there was a lot of back and forth on the internet the last 2 weeks of whether he'd do any more Iron Man outside of those team films,
right.
Including Iron Man 4. And he basically, as we talked last week, on one talk show said, yeah, I'm doing it. And the very next day said, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it was just waffling back and forth, back and forth. Now, from what I understand, somebody came up with this idea of using Captain America 3 as the launching pad for a cinematic version of Civil War.
Right.
And although I never read that particular, series when it came out, I understand its popularity. I was aware of it and know that the two principal dividing characters were Iron Man on one side and Cap on the other. And that's what they wanted to play off of.
Yeah.
Well, that was the hook, because when Downey supposedly read the concept and how they were going to do that, it gives Iron Man a much meatier role in Captain America than was previously thought. They were going to give him a little cameo or something, which he didn't want any part of. So he basically went back to the table with his agents, renegotiated, and that's why now we're getting all this, which looks very solid to the fact that Cap 3 will revolve around the start of a Civil War theme that's going to play itself out heading to Avengers 3.
Yeah, and there are even rumors, and I will stress they are rumors at this point, there's no confirmation on any of this, that Marvel is trying to work out a deal with Sony to get Spider-Man involved with this, because he was a very integral part to that story.
And would you explain that to me? Because, like I said, having not read the series, I'm reading this. So what was it? What was the linchpin of Spider-Man between these two camps?
Okay, basically, the whole story was over the Superhuman Registration Act, and Tony Stark was for it, Captain America was against it.
Yep.
Spider-Man was teetering between the two, and eventually sided with Tony Stark, and as an example for everybody else, unmasked in front of the world and revealed his identity. And that was what set off everything. So he is very important to it. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
And then what happened throughout the course of it is there were issues where Spider-Man began to kind of regret it and kind of think, hey, wait a second, this really isn't cool. Maybe because Captain America's perspective was, hey, look, we are out there putting our lives on the line. We should be free to do what we do as long as we follow within the law. And Tony Stark was kind of, as being the spearhead, he was also offered the chance to become head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And Tony Stark was the, hey, look, we need to follow with the status quo if this is the law. And this all began because Speedball, who's one of the young warriors, was involved in a really traumatic. He was trying to save, I think, a bus full of kids. The bus exploded. Kids were killed, and he came out of it, and people were like, "Hey, look, that is not cool. We need to do something about that."
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the kickoff to the Registration Act, and this war became between heroes who believe that, hey, look, superheroes should have some kind of official status, and you do what you can to. You need to turn your will over to the greater society, and those heroes that decided, hey, look, it's about liberty. It's not about being official. We have to do what we need to do.
Yeah, and the reasons. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I want to correct something, Gordon.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a bus. It was a school. Actually, what had happened? The Warriors had kind of fallen on hard times. So it was Speedball named Marita.
They were doing a reality show, right?
Yeah, they were doing a reality show. Microbe, a couple others.
Yeah.
And they were all going to Nitro. They were all going after Nitro, the villain that blows himself up.
Right.
They went after him. He blew up the school in a big part of this town named Stanford, Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And that was the thing, because they they were seen as careless children
Right.
who shouldn't have been out there fighting Nitro, especially, around the school and all this happening.
just for ratings.
It wasn't as small as a bus. It kind of took out half the town, if not more.
I do remember a bus being involved there.
Oh yeah, I mean there was a bus. It was a school, so there were buses and buildings.
Exactly.
Nearly half a town. Yeah.
Yeah, I simply misremembered. I apologize.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, so let me ask you. If I can jump in here, because I know, John, you groaned when we started this concept, and I have, like I said, I never read Civil War. I wasn't into Marvels at that time, and I wasn't buying that many comics, so I never read it. I have friends out there who liked it and were excited by this news, but at the same time, I have quite a few friends who really did not like Civil War at all and got the similar groans that you just let go. So I take it you were not a fan of the series, or you don't want to see it taken to the movies?
Well, I was okay with bits and pieces of the series. The recreation of Thor as a clone, I have major problems with. And the fact at the end that Captain America just gave up because it wasn't the quote unquote will of the people, I have major problems with. The main reason I groaned is they don't have enough heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to have a Civil War.
I would agree with that, and let me jump in if you don't mind, Gordon. I'll just say that they are going to be doing these other films before that happens. They'll have Doctor Strange, they'll have Ant-Man, they have the Netflix stuff that's going to be going on. They have the characters that pop up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so they have populated the cinematic universe a little bit more than what we've seen in Avengers.
Right, but look at Civil War.
Yeah.
You have easily 100 heroes and changed over villains or whatever.
Yeah.
On each side. They don't have enough heroes to have a civil skirmish right now.
Well, yeah, I mean they're going to have to tweak it, obviously.
Yeah. That's a big problem.
Go ahead.
If I may act as the voice of reason here. One of the couple of things to keep in mind in thinking about doing a Civil War type story. The first is, in Avengers, they kind of establish a natural conflict between Captain America and Iron Man. The old values versus the new. Just because Marvel might be choosing to do that particular concept doesn't mean they're going to parallel that storyline.
Sure.
What we know of the Marvel Universe at this point is that there is a major S.H.I.E.L.D., their major espionage agency, has been destroyed, being corrupted from within, and is now trying to rebuild itself. Since we're looking at Cap 3 being in a while, it might make sense that the Civil War is not about a government act, but about the idea of, do we really want an organization that, and by this point S.H.I.E.L.D. might be in better shape, do you really want an organization that is going to be all-powerful and that we risk that kind of power? Or do we want something where people are allowed to step up and take control? So I don't see it necessarily as a superhuman registration act type storyline, but I can see, because that was the subtext of the whole Marvel Civil War thing. It came out years after 9/11. It's government control versus personal liberty. And keep in mind, it was also written by Mark Millar, so it was very heavy-handed. But I can see that result, because I think too often as fans when we hear like Civil War, and I'm keeping an open mind because there's planning that goes into this. Don't assume that they're going to take the story verbatim, but they may take certain elements like one camp versus another.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be hundreds of heroes fighting, but it may be, okay, Cap might be, Tony Stark might be, hey, look, I got contracts with the military and the government. I'm on their side. I'm pro-S.H.I.E.L.D. Cap might be, hey, look, this goes against, we fought against an enemy twice that believed in total control and domination. I don't play that. So let's if they go in that, just because they go for that kind of storyline, and to me that's still a rumored storyline,
right?
Because no one said yes, we are going to do that. It could be something completely different, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do the story bit by bit by bit. Winter Soldier is not a direct retelling of Brubaker's initial storyline.
That's right. That's what I wanted. You just nailed it, Gordon. Okay.
Well,
right, because I've been reading Captain America for the last 3 years now, in the entire Winter Soldier storyline. So I had my reservations, about the movie Captain America 2. It was like, how the heck could they do that? And obviously they didn't. They didn't translate every single issue, nuance, subplot, and everything else. But they got the essence and took, what they needed to make Cap 2 and to make that work, which I appreciated. So if we have the same writers and people in control of Cap, which supposedly we do for Cap 3, then Civil War may just be what you just said. It may be a distillation of themes and ideas, but obviously not playing into that gigantic scope that was the comic book series.
Yeah, and even
go ahead, Brent, and then I'll
take a ticket. Take a number.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say earlier, you guys have been talking, and it's got me thinking about something I was going to say earlier, which was more about Spider-Man's role in this. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of doubting how that could even work, even if they did make a deal with Sony, because the thing with Spider-Man, the reason he sided with Iron Man in the first place is because at that point he had joined the Avengers, he had been on the Avengers for a while, and he looked up to Tony Stark as a mentor, as a scientist. And, so he kind of, gravitated towards that side. But even if they... What's that?
He worked for Tony at that point.
Yeah, he worked for Tony. And even if you do the partnership between Sony and Marvel, you don't have that build up to where there's that, respect in that relationship. So I'm not sure that would even work. But I did want to bring up one more interesting thing. Gordon mentioned Mark Millar wrote this. Mark Millar is over the Fox properties that Marvel has. The X-Men and the Fantastic Four and all that. So I don't know. Maybe there's like a try deal going that can work out and get all the X-Men involved too. But go ahead, John.
No, my point was going to be, if it's what Gordon's saying it is, call it something else then. Because the point with Cap 2 is he is the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
He is called the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. So just the fact that he's in there is justification to call it the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to follow the storyline at all. But with Civil War, it was a very distinct storyline having very distinct beats. And if it's going to be some distillation of government control versus not, or if it's going to be some distillation of S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra, or, just Tony versus Steve, call it something else.
See, I'll
why make Civil War? And
we're all trying.
Well, and Sony is not going to allow them to unmask. Publicly,
they unmask him in every movie. What are you talking about?
No, he's unmasked, but they don't publicly have. Oh, look, it's Peter Parker's face.
Let me disagree with you on the Civil War point, because if you think of the connotation of Civil War, it's literally brother against brother, sister against sister, that kind of thing. And if you put it in that context, Iron Man and Captain America are like brothers in arms. It still fits with that title.
Right.
Just saying.
Okay.
Because I mean, when they used it for the comic book, mini maxi series back in the day, they were literally, Grant got it. They were riffing off American history, i.e. the Civil War, the North and the South,
right.
Brother against brother. That's the theme, and that still makes it legitimate if even a small handful of Avengers split and go up against each other. So.
Right.
Yeah, my only other thing, and then I'll leave it alone, is Civil War had such a non-ending. Well, hey, it actually had two endings. Cap gave up, and then he got shot. and killed.
Right.
Killed. And then it led into Dark Reign and all that stuff.
Right, and then all that mess. But, he gave up and then got shot and killed. Non-ending. So I'm pretty sure they'll probably shoot and kill him at the end of this.
Well, especially with Chris Evans taking some time off, that would make sense.
Take time off. But how are you going to do that cinematically? Just saying, well, people obviously aren't for this. I won't do it. Because that's what they did in the comics. So that's where I'm going to leave my objection alone.
Okay. Right. And let me and maybe this can put a cap on this whole situation. At some point, just because Iron Man appears in a Captain America movie does not guarantee that it's Civil War. This is Marvel's property. This is Marvel Studios. They will act in a way that they do best. So I think before we start complaining about whether it's Civil War, we all need to maybe take a breath, step away from the keyboard, and maybe do something else and calm ourselves down. So I'm keeping an open mind on this.
Right. Same here. I agree. And we should move on. All right. So Gotham gets a full season order. I'm actually surprised by this.
I'm not a bit.
All right. The last episode, I will say, was very good, and it was much better than that travesty that was the episode 3. And it got me excited again, but it's so flip-floppy. It kind of surprises me that it's already got the full order. But
well, my thing is, guys, and allow me, watching this, take place in front of us, and tying it in with what's happened over the last 20 years in America. All right, i.e., comic books have become acceptable, right, to the main audience, to the public out there. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's not a hard sell anymore. All right, now it's cool to like comics. Now it's 151,000 people at New York. That's insane. All right, and Hollywood stepped in, and television and movies, so that what was at one time, this comic hobby of a handful of people throughout the world has now generally been accepted by the public at large. And to be quite honest with you, I'm sure you guys have conversations with your comic colleagues. This show is on shaky grounds. All of us think there are serious problems with it, and yet the ratings keep going up and up and up. And I'm telling you right now, it's not because of the comic fans watching it. It's because of the general public watching it. Because they think it's cool.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's hard for us being comic fans to look at it objectively like that.
They have no preconceived notions of what they're watching.
Right, exactly. So, I can understand that. To me, still, as a TV watcher, it still has technical problems, but that's beside the point.
Well, it has yet to be a comic show either. There's nobody running in a costume in this show.
That's true.
These people are wearing normal street clothes.
Yeah, it is more like Arrow was in that first season. Kind of.
It's a police procedural more than anything else, right?
Yes.
And people love police procedurals, no matter what you call it.
With a very confusing time setting, but that's okay.
Well, it's slightly anachronistic,
Yeah.
I was about to...
Guys,
I want to ask, because I'm before I go into my critique of Gotham, is Gotham supposed to take place in the current day or in the 1970s?
I would assume the 90s because they have flip cell phones.
Right.
Okay,
Didn't they have 50s automobies?
Yeah.
My wife was looking at us the other day and going, when the hell does this take place?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you're not supposed to understand that. That's part of what they're doing.
They're trying to capture what Gotham is, which is a very 1930s gangster-ridden kind of set, what's the word I'm looking for? Backdrop. That's what I was.
Right, exactly.
But it's, the thing that the comics do is it's still told in a modern tone, where the show is very confused where it's at. I mean, obviously it's got to be at least the 90s because of the phones.
Right.
And televisions and stuff like that.
Right, but everything else is anachronistic. It's insane.
Yeah. No, it's today.
Like current today, like 2014?
2014, but Gotham itself is trapped in the 1930s.
Okay. All right.
See, it's the Budapest of America.
Exactly.
So here's further confusion for people that watch the movies and the TV shows. You got Bruce Wayne in 2014 as a 12-year-old kid, and in 2 years you're going to have him as an old man.
Yeah. Well, don't look too close at the date on anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just DC is so they don't even know what they're doing anymore.
They don't care. They're not worried about it.
That's true. True.
Okay.
Because the movies and TV are different.
That's right. In their mind, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, to serve as the voice of reason, and because I need to fill my quota of words for this particular podcast, keep in mind this is a show that is on the Fox network. So I liked this episode much better than episode 3. I think this is where you see, I am not going to blame DC for this. I think where it stands is the Fox network, because I think, first off, I think this was always meant to be a procedural show. Yeah. This is not a put a guy in a costume and beat people up. So it's not supposed to be a straightforward comic book show. If you want that, John, the Batman series from the 60s is coming out on DVD in November. Wait a few weeks, you will get that. Secondly, Fox has a history of mandating all sorts of changes. It we've seen it with Firefly. You name the show, there have been shows that have been taken off because they didn't quite build an audience. I think Gotham has that built in. Most people who don't read comics know who Batman is at some point.
Yep.
So this is not about this isn't about appealing to comic book fans, and comic book fans really need to have their heads surgically removed from their asses and breathe some clean air once in a while. It really is this. I'm willing to stick with it because I have some real problems with it, but I think that the writing is very. I mean, this last episode, the writing was so uneven because there are some good sequences and then just some off the wall, what the hell's going on. So I think there's a lot of studio interference, and I think that it's kind of hard when you've got Fox brushing up against DC Entertainment. I think the CW, because it's partially owned by Warner Brothers, there isn't that tension. It'll be interesting to see Constantine with NBC to see if there's a similar kind of push and pull. So I'm with Gotham. I'm going to reluctantly stay with Gotham for the long haul, and I'm not surprised that it was extended for a full season because, quite honestly, if they're pulling in the ratings, they're doing something right. I think if they could cut out some of the more outrageous soapy aspects, first off, I think that you should just send Bruce Wayne to boarding school. Get him off the show. It's nothing to do with the actor, but you really need to start establishing the building blocks of Batman. You get him out of there, and that way you automatically increase tension. You automatically create a natural form of conflict because Jim Gordon can go to Alfred and say, hey, look, where's Bruce Wayne? Where's Bruce? Alfred says, I sent him off to boarding school. And before you give me a hard time, future commissioner, just note that my old man played the Doctor in the 70s and thumped people and fought aliens while dressed as a member of the Partridge Family. So don't mess with me, dude. Seriously.
Okay. Now I gotta chime in there too with another comment because, again, I'm watching this thing from a totally comic book perspective. So whenever Valerie makes comments, I pay attention to her perspectives on how she views the show. And I already mentioned her confusion with, when does it take place? And, my advocation to just go with the story. So in that line, she echoes comments, John, that you've made here several times in the past, all right? Because even this episode had a few over-the-top violent sequences. And she was like, I really wish it was on at a later time and just make it an adult series.
It would make sense.
Yeah, because it's also caught in that thing. Because, I mean, we're seeing all kinds of adult themes. And, again, the violence quotient, setting the guy aflame in the barrel. and the shot through the eyes and with the tube and and Val was like uncomfortable with that. She says, "Why is this on so early? This should be at a later time for adults." And I said, "I couldn't agree more."
Yeah, I was surprised they had that level of graphic violence at the hour too.
Yeah, and my feeling is it not only needs to be on later, I would argue it really needs to be on FX because it has that same kind of quality that The Shield had, that Justified has.
Yeah.
Heck, even that Archer has, where it's not just, hey, it's adult. Then you can really, because I think some of the issue is that when they try to go into really adult themes, they almost have to pull back. It's like the former relationship between Montoya and Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good that's a really good source for drama. But I think because it's on the Fox network, they kind of had to soften it to, they had something and one of them's kind of stalkery versus the ability to really play that out. And so I would argue that, I agree with you, it needs to be on later, but I think it needs to be on a different kind of Fox network.
Any final thoughts, John, before we move on?
Not really. I'll just say I liked it from the beginning. I still do. I'm not the least bit surprised it went for a full episode. I won't be the least bit surprised when it gets renewed for a second season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm flip-flopping back and forth with it. Every episode it seems to make me feel a different way, so we'll see. Moving on, we got some concept art and the first still images for the Daredevil Netflix show starring Charlie Cox and Deborah Ann Woll. The concept art was just a basic black and white with a little bit of red splash of Daredevil. Kind of ambiguous there what it was going on until we got the stills, and now we're seeing the first look at his costume.
Well, it's pretty much Frank Miller's Daredevil Year One.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's almost exactly, because they showed some panels from that series, and that's exactly what he's dressed up to look like.
Yeah.
So obviously they're gonna launch with this, I'm becoming Daredevil, and if fans are upset, hey, wait a second, okay? Because ultimately, if they're following that line, I don't know, but would like to think so, because they mirror that early, like I said, Miller's origin tales so well that ultimately we'll see him develop into the red horn costume at some point in the series.
Yeah, and that's fine. I have no problem with that, just as long as they do it better than they did it in that Hulk movie from the 80s.
I was wondering if you were going to reference that.
Yeah, definitely, because that's what it puts me in mind.
That was on my mind too.
Yeah.
That's a classic. Watch that every Christmas, John.
Okay, Gordon.
Yeah, but Ron, and I think I echo Brant and John on this. I know it's what Frank Miller did, but if my thinking is, it's Rex Smith, because he had that cheesy hit in the 70s as well as the Incredible Hulk movie, not necessarily a good thing.
No, I agree. What is interesting is Rosario Dawson is playing Night Nurse.
That's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. I like that. So that gives me hope.
Well, that's the second time Rosario's popping up, because isn't she popping up somewhere else soon?
Sin City, maybe.
No. There was something else, and it just jumped right out of my head, but never mind.
I'm not sure.
Should be in Clerks 3, obviously, but that's not what I was thinking of.
I will Google her name and see. Let's see. But yeah, aside from that, Deborah Ann Woll as Karen Page, it's a good cast.
D'Onofrio as Kingpin, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, she's voicing Wonder Woman in Justice League Throne of Atlantis.
Oh, well, there you go. I knew something with her in it was comic-y.
There you go. So we already talked about both of her things, her films. I knew you'd laugh at that, John.
Nice segue, dude.
Segue!
We got the first footage. Thank you. First footage from Powers, which is a PlayStation original series. It's based on Brian Michael Bendis' comic series, which we've talked about before, and none of us were really that excited about it until John found the trailer, and he was like, "Oh, you got to watch this trailer." And
the trailer rocked.
The trailer was actually good. I'm not quite sold on the main guy yet. He seems to be overacting a little bit. But the rest of the...
You think?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's kind of okay when you remember who he is. That's the guy that played Murdoch in the A-Team redo.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, I saw him in District 9 as well, John. And
in District 9.
I've seen him in other things as well. He's South African, and maybe that's just their what do you call it? Their William Shatner school of underacting, you know. I'm sorry. Look, he again, Bendis is involved, and they pick a cast that looks nothing like the comics.
Right.
Number one. Okay. Thanks for nothing. And this trailer did nothing for me. He's overacting. I could hear Shatner just mouthing every word. Used to fly, you know, and I'm like, oh, good for you. You know, it's not. If this is the level of acting, emoting we're going to get, I think it's going to turn into a soap opera faster than anything else.
Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say, I have to admit, I've never read the Powers comic, ever.
Right.
But this level, you know, the trailer, I mean, I just kind of embraced the topness of it and just really enjoyed it for some reason.
Yeah. And see, I've actually read Powers, because it's much more of a procedural, kind of grim and gritty Ed McBain style. That kind of overacting doesn't fit. What you kind of need is, and maybe he probably was not available, but you need someone like John Hamm who can do that kind of.
Yeah.
And because the main character has a bit of a past, without spoiling, you need someone who can play that. Yes, I got to deal in this world, but I also don't like dealing with this world because it brings up complicated feelings. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, with Powers, the trailer just kind of left me feeling a little cold. I mean, I'm not as extreme as maybe Ron is, but I'm probably less likely to check it out, especially since I don't have a PlayStation, so I can't access it anyway.
Yeah. I only read 2 issues of Powers when it first came to Marvel's Icon imprint. I never read the original stuff or anything since then because I didn't really care for it. But the John Hamm thing, I would totally agree. He would be perfect for that role. Aside from that main actor's overacting, I thought the rest of the cast was fine. It was interesting. I don't know. I do have a PlayStation, so I might watch it. I think they said the first episode is going to be free.
Yeah, it's going to be free somewhere.
Yeah, so, even for people that don't have a PlayStation. So.
Right. So I'm going to watch the first episode before I completely dismiss it.
Right.
Just to see if that was just a one-time thing or if this is going to be a, you know, full-on thing.
Yeah.
Because to give this guy some credit, in the A-Team movie, as over the top as it was, he did some very subtle sort of things in there.
Oh yeah, he did. You're right.
Yeah, so
I love the A-Team. Don't get me wrong. I love the A-Team, and I thought his performance in it was dead on. And I'm a huge fan of District 9. I think it's a phenomenal film. But like I said, when I saw this particular trailer, and you know, it's maybe it's right. It's like I said, it struck me as a different kind of, you know, it should be played a lot more subtle as far as who this character is. And I read the comics series, you know, past and pro, and I loved the comic a lot. I thought the comics were extremely well done, and that's why, you know, it's a real divergent from it to that degree. And I'm surprised that, you know, Bendis is going along with it. But then again, his paycheck must be huge.
Maybe he needs a house payment.
Yeah, well, hey, you know. We're going to change your character. Oh, no, you're not. We're going to give you $20,000. Go ahead and change it.
Okay.
All right. One more film TV kind of news story, and we'll move on to some comic stuff. They announced that Resident Evil and Underworld are both headed to television with television series, even though there is going to be another Resident Evil movie coming out.
So you know both of these are in trouble.
Yeah. and the Underworld series it's not gonna star obviously Kate Beckinsale. She's not gonna.
Oh no!
It's gonna star Theo James.
Hey, Beckinsale doesn't do TV.
Yeah, it's gonna star Theo James David from the 4th film. So, I don't know.
Beckinsale doesn't do TV.
I would be very surprised if she did TV.
Anyway.
Oh, so that's different.
Now, hey, there was an item, and I'm totally digressing here because there's not much we can say about this. I mean, whatever these things are going to be, they're going to be. But somewhere in the middle of this press release, when the people were talking about Underworld, coming to, as a series and this and that, the guy who owns the property made this comment, okay? And it didn't get past me, and I'm curious if the three of you know anything about this. He said, well, if Scarlett Johansson and Keanu Reeves have TV series in the works, and I'm what they do? Do any of you know what those are?
No.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Go back
Unless
to the
they
press
think...
release. That's what he says. Scarlett Johansson and Keanu Reeves have TV series in the works.
You know what this idiot probably thinks? That the Constantine show is Keanu Reeves.
That what? I didn't hear
The
that.
Constantine show.
Oh.
It's Keanu Reeves.
And she must be coming to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is what he's thinking too.
Possibly because they may be thinking Mockingbird is Scarlet Witch.
There you go.
Or they're making a loose show.
And there may be two other possibilities. One is that there are some actors who serve as executive producers on shows but don't necessarily appear in them. So they might help things further along. The other thing is, I think this guy, and there's no nice way to put it, I think he's totally talking out of his ass. I think he's just name dropping for the sake of name dropping.
I actually I looked at both their names. I couldn't find anything for Scarlett Johansson, but I did find something from August. Keanu Reeves to star in, produce action series Reign for Slingshot Global Media. This would be a television series, an hour-long series based on the best-selling book series by Barry Eisler. So,
What's it called?
Reign. R-A-I-N.
There's a show called The Rain.
Is there?
Yeah, it's set in French.
Oh no, not R-E-I-G-N. R-A-I-N.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. As in,
that's going to be confusing. Yeah, that's going to be confusing for people.
Yeah, but Keanu's also reputed to have accepted an offer to do Bill and Ted 3.
Well, yeah.
Hey!
Now, I didn't know.
It didn't work, so he needed to do it.
I didn't know about this, but they also mentioned Mortal Instruments in this, and that movie seems to be perfect to make a TV show from. So, I could believe that one. That one might work, especially if it's on CW.
Well, I think Gordon might have hit it on the head if this guy's got any credibility at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because Sandy Bullock was the producer on the George Lopez show for.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe they are throwing their producer hats in the ring somewhere, but
Quite possibly.
I can't see either of them leaving. I mean, even as bad as Keanu's doing with his films lately, I can't see any of them leaving film.
Yeah, Scarlett's not doing bad at all.
No, she beat the crap out of a major action movie with her major action movie. So
exactly. All right, so we got all the TV and movie news out of the way. We'll dive into some comic news, as we mentioned. Top Cow launches the latest talent hunt, releases submission details a couple days late because they originally said they were going to release them on Monday. They ended up releasing them on Wednesday. John and I entered this a couple years ago. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to, or Gordon, if you've ever tried to enter anything like this, but...
I was going to 1 year, but John kept saying, nobody submit because I'm going to submit. So this year's where I say, screw you, Wilson. I'm going to submit whether you like it or not.
I would figure you'd submit just to screw me.
That's what I did. No. But, John and I entered. We both got really good feedback the year. And last year we wanted to, and we just ran up against the deadline and couldn't, we had a lot going on, so...
but I'm in this year.
Yeah, I'm very...
And I like my odds this year.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested. They're looking to hire 2 writers and 2 artists, just like they did last year. It's now open, I think, if I can find it again, when submissions
It's March of next year, is it not?
Yeah, I think so. I think you had to March to enter, if I'm not mistaken. Or something like that. I don't know. Details will be in a link in the show notes, but
no doubt.
Yeah, last year's had 1,500 entries.
Wow. The reason I feel real good about this year, not to go over their entire thing, but just briefly, is you can set it in any time period you want.
Yeah, that's very
as long
good.
as you use their characters.
Right.
You can set it anywhere you want in time. So
yeah, the year John and I entered, they had a
I already
very
have an idea.
Yeah, they had a very specific handful of characters that you could use, and you had to use them with these particular artifacts. It tied into their whole artifact series and everything going on there, and it was difficult if you hadn't been reading all the material. We had to.
It's fairly stringent. We had to do a lot of research that year.
Yeah, exactly. And this year's a lot different, but all the winners of the past 2 years, they've had published work already through Top Cow, so it's a very good opportunity for those that are trying to break in. That's all. All right. No more comments on that, I guess.
No, they're public. They don't care.
Yeah.
Actually, a question. So
Sure.
This year, you still have the same handful of characters. It's just you can put them in any setting, correct?
Yes.
John? Okay.
You have to use the top. You haven't read it yet. Yeah, you have to use. See, they wouldn't let you use any of their quote unquote main characters.
Right.
Time we did it. Now you can use anybody within the Top Cow.
Yeah. They had a list of I can't remember if it was 6 or 8 characters that were all from the Artifact series that we had to use.
Yeah.
And they weren't. You couldn't use Darkness or Witchblade or anybody like that when we did it. But they've kind of opened it up a little bit more.
They have opened it up considerably.
Yeah. So.
And they even say as much. We opened it up considerably for this very reason.
Yeah. So. Cool. All right. So DC Comics announces several new series. Mortal Kombat. They're doing a year-long series of that. And the art for that looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's surprising how good the art looks. Actually.
Yeah, and I watched this. I watched the DC All Access thing about it, and they were talking about how there's going to be a fatality in every issue, just like the video game.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and it's going to follow Scorpion in his journey. I think they also announced, which will be of great interest to Gordon, a Wonder Woman 77 series based on the Linda Carter TV show.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that it's I think they've had a lot of success with their Batman 66 series. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I'm also not sure who did, and I know with that particular comic, there were rights issues with Fox. So now that those are straightened out, I'm trying to think of what company actually released a Wonder Woman TV series, but I just say it's about time. I mean, any show that has her and the comedy stylings of Lyle Wagner is always good television.
There you go.
I mean, I know it was on ABC, but I think it was, well, gosh, I don't know, to be honest with you, but I would think it was the same one that did a lot of their shows back then. Not Aaron Spelling, but...
No, but you're right with the network. I remember
it was
ABC.
definitely ABC.
Yeah.
No, I get the network. I'm just trying to think what the production company was, because I don't think it was Warner Brothers.
No, probably not.
Probably not. But one thing with this I think is really cool, not only that Nicola Scott is doing the art, but it would seem that Linda Carter is all behind this, from what I hear.
No, well, I mean,
she's big. She's big behind it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, I mean, honestly, anything that makes Wonder Woman or sets Wonder Woman back into World War II era,
right.
Where she was first created, all right, in the golden age of comics, is cool by me. And if you're riffing off of that show with the ever lovely Linda Carter, this may be a title that I'll be picking up.
Yeah.
It was Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it was. I was about to say that.
Oh, okay.
That surprisingly enough.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if the rest of you are aware, but they've been doing kind of live readings of the Batman 66 comic on Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman's podcast because Ralph Garman wrote the thing.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Kevin Smith was supposed to, but Ralph Garman actually did most of the writing.
Yeah.
So they've been doing live readings of it on their podcast. I think it'd be kind of cool if, they got Linda Carter on there and did live readings of hers too. I think
there you go.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. And the other... Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Gordon.
I was about to say, and if Miss Carter wants to join us on this podcast, I'm sure we'd be more than willing to accommodate her schedule.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no argument there. The other new series they announced was Fables: The Wolf Among Us, which is based on the Telltale game, which is based on the series. So there you go.
No offense to anyone, but I do not like the art on that.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it either. So.
They should have stuck with whoever did Fables.
Mm-hmm. All right, a bunch of female creator stuff and female lead series news from New York Comic Con. Just over in the Spider-Man universe, we have 3 Spider-Woman titles coming at us. We have Spider-Woman, which we knew from San Diego, but we also have Silk now is getting her own series, and the Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman, which I think we mentioned last week, from Edge of Spider-Verse, is getting her own series now.
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm telling you, she was fantastic in that book. It was a fantastic issue. So, but I don't know. This may be a little bit of overkill. It's great, more female leads, and in this other article we had, there was a lot of Marvel's got like a lot of female lead titles now. They're doing a new Gamora series that's written by the screenwriter of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They've got Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, the Squirrel Girl series coming up. They're really trying to push the female series there. And nobody cares. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is an all-male show, Brand. No, where's your macho? Come on.
Yeah, of course. But
with that attitude, it's going to stay that way.
Obviously. No, I think it's cool if the stories are good.
Yeah.
Now,
Very
if they're
true.
just doing it to have female lead series, well, phooey on that, there's no reason for it if it's just a crap story.
Yeah. I will say, I'll go on a limb here and say the Spider-Gwen series, I think, could have as much traction as Spider-Girl that would not die, that kept getting canceled and kept being brought back by fans.
Yeah.
The Spider-Gwen story in the Edge of Spider-Verse series was that good. So I think they could really do something with that particular character. The Silk one, I'm not so sure about. She's a brand new character. She's the other girl, for those that don't know, that was bitten by the spider that bit Peter Parker, and he just discovered her recently. And so she has all his powers, only she's faster but not quite as strong. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Spider-Woman with Jessica Drew, I've always been a fan of hers, so I'm on board with that one. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to have both female creators and female characters.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, it's. I know that Marvel got a little bit of hot water with that one Spider-Man cover.
Yeah.
And for the record, I kind of thought, I didn't object to it.
Gordon?
Cut out.
Is it just me, or is...
No, it's cutting out. It's cutting out completely.
And in terms of your output.
Yeah. Gordon, we lost most of that.
Hear me now?
Yeah, you were cut out for most of that. Sorry.
We only heard the last sentence of that.
Yeah.
Okay. To repeat, when you have creativity behind people, creatively, when you have more diverse creative staff and more diverse characters, it's a good thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. However, I would love it if we could finally get to a place where we don't have to say women creators.
Agreed.
And separate them.
Yeah.
Just say creators.
Yeah.
That the fact that they're women, immaterial.
I agree with you.
The fact that they're good, is what's important.
Yeah.
Right, and the thing that bothers me about this labeling, constant labeling these days in everything, is that the minute you start saying women creators, a comic book comes out and a fan picks it up and reads it and goes, well, this isn't very good, all right? and dares to say that, he's going to be accused of being sexist.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you don't like it because a woman wrote it, and that's what labeling does to us people, all right? Mm. It limits our ability to express our opinions openly and freely without being pigeonholed and saying, oh, you're a sexist because obviously you don't like women writers or women artists. Or
conversely.
Right. We don't need those. Just give us the name of the creator and put out the damn comic book.
Yeah, because I'd also... Oh, go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, or conversely, that same person, if he keeps it to himself and says, oh, I don't like this woman-created comic, he will say, well, I don't like any woman-created comic.
Yeah.
Right. He'll get in his head, oh, if this is a comic that a woman would do, I don't like women creators.
Right.
I only will go for men creators from now on.
And also go as far as to say, by stressing women creators, it almost depreciates them to another level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, again, let me be the voice of reason here. Most audiences, I think, are much more sophisticated than I think you give them credit for. No one picks up a book by a female creator and says, oh, this is a crappy book, and I'm never going to read another female-written comic again. Very few people, when we talk about labeling and, oh, it does them a disservice, keep in mind, for years, it's been very male-dominated. Now that we're seeing much more diverse creativity, and when we hear about people accused of being sexist, there's a difference between saying, for example, I don't like Gail Simone as a writer, and I don't like Gail Simone as a woman. Saying that she's a bad writer, whether you agree with that or not, is not a sexist comment. Sexism is more about devaluing a person, not devaluing a person's skill. Make sense?
I understand, but I hate to disagree with you. Go speak to any woman stand-up comedian and see how they've had to deal with the fact that people have said that all women stand-up comedians are funny.
I think you're underappreciating how much chauvinism still exists, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not denying that chauvinism doesn't exist, but I do think it's very easy to say, well, we should devalue it. I agree with you about female stand-up comics and comedians, but at some point, I don't think the solution is just to say, oh, we don't dare say anything negative about female creators because it's sexism. Yes, it exists, but I think...
No. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Okay. It is one thing to say, yes, it exists, but I think to start to then say, oh, no, we shouldn't even talk about it because we might be accused of that. No. It's being able to face it head on and be honest about what had happened.
I don't think anybody...
It would be fair, for example, it would be fair if somebody said, hey, Gordon, your comments about Linda Carter were kind of inappropriate because I actually said those. They're not devaluing me as a guy. They're saying, hey, look, those comments are appropriate. To say then, oh, Gordon is a sexist pig, to kind of parallel what Ron said, that's not fair. You can have... So I think the way you fight sexism and racism and all that is not to... Part of it is to support those creators that are actually doing good work, but part of it is to call it out and have the conversation. End of lecture.
Yeah.
No, what he was saying, we could be accused of that by...
Exactly, thank you.
By a person... by an imaginary comic person in the store could be saying that since this is bad, or if we say something is bad since we have this public forum, that we could be called sexist by someone, and I guarantee you we will.
Right, we have been.
We've been called
for doing this show. We have been. So.
Exactly. By not having a woman on this show, we've been called sexist many times.
Mm-hmm. It's not our fault, people. Please, please.
That's what our problem is. But I totally agree with facing any ism head on.
Yes.
I'd be the first one on the show to rally against any ism there is. But yeah, to even suggest that it doesn't exist, I'm sorry, that's kind of ludicrous.
I am not suggesting that it doesn't exist,
Okay.
And to your okay, but to your point about being accused of being sexist and racist, I would just say, and I say this because I have friends who believe in being diverse and smashing out gatekeepers. And in fact, I just wrote a blog post for Blog Action Day. And today's focus for this year is inequality. And when we throw words like sexism and racism and privilege around, what people tend to forget is you don't get to point the finger and say someone is sexist. What you get to do is it's an internal thing. I can look at my own biases and my own perspective and see, yeah, there's something about it that's off. And I do think that sometimes what we forget is it's very easy to point the finger and say that's inappropriate. It's a lot harder, but it's a lot more healthy for us to look at our own stuff and say, hey, look, I'm sorry that we don't have a female co-host. The problem, there are issues with that. It's very easy and I know Brant usually works hard on this podcast. It's one thing for him to say he doesn't have access to that. That's Brant's thing. I guess my point is, too often what I see is this kind of dismissal of the tough issue and doing that necessarily inner work. I think it's sometimes easier to say, oh, we don't touch that because it's going to cause us a problem, as well as everything is sexist and racist and you need to have art, your creative output conform to our ideology. My perspective is, if it's straight from Star Trek The Next Generation, if I'm going to be damned, I'll be damned for who I am. And if that's a problem for you, deal with it. Sticks and stones may break my bones, dudes, but words will never frickin' hurt me. End of lecture. Hello?
We're here.
Oh, okay. You just all cut out for a moment, so.
I heard some loud
We're just
beat,
letting
actually.
it sink in, Gordon.
I think we should move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. So, Marvel Comics announces a new crossover event. Surprise, surprise. And a new Star Wars comic, which I'm more interested in that than the crossover. The crossover is another crossover between the Guardians of the Galaxy and the X-Men called the Black Vortex. Not much details about that yet. It'll probably be written by Bendis because he's writing both those series. So, the Star Wars series, though, is written by Greg Weisman, who was behind Young Justice. He's behind Star Wars Rebels. He's behind Gargoyles, the animated series.
Yep.
And he's writing this series that ties into Star Wars Rebels. It's called Star Wars Kanan.
Yep.
So I'm very excited about this.
So am I. The cover looks awesome.
Mm-hmm, it does. Any other?
Any addition to Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
By Kanan.
Yeah.
Hey.
Kanan, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I'm waiting for Rebels to come on, for Pete's sakes. It's like,
They're taking
the hype.
time. They're really taking their time on that.
They are.
In fact, I saw some article accusing them of what's old is new again, or someone kind of trying to make the thing that, this is, they're using a lot of old ideas in Rebels.
Yeah.
Are you guys, I thought it was already out.
They haven't gotten all the toys up there yet either.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it if it is out.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the air dates. First episode aired on October 3rd, second on the 13th. So you guys have already missed 2 episodes.
I was about to say, they've been quiet about it then.
Well, technically the first one was not an episode. It was not an official episode. I guess it was the pilot or whatever. But yeah, the first episode, Droids in Distress, came out on October 13th. So,
yeah. Very sneaky.
So,
yeah, I have to check that out.
Yeah, you have to go look for it. But yeah, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I was saying hello iTunes for that. For those.
There you go. Speaking of new series, Marvel announced a weekly series called Wolverines.
Hey, somebody's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. This isn't about Wolverine. It's about the people in Wolverine's life. Why'd they call it Wolverines? Because Wolverine's name sells. That's why. But this series is focusing on Sabretooth, X-23, Daken, and Mystique, and how they deal with Wolverine not being central in their universe because he's gone. And
yeah, it's like friends and foes unite to avenge Wolverine. And I'm like going, well, wait a minute. Why avenge him? I mean, I saw that Wolverine movie of him in Japan. He wants to die. He's dead. What do you got to avenge? You should be having a party. You should be happy.
They're upset because they didn't kill him, probably.
So yeah, this is going to be a weekly series though, which, I mean, DC currently has 3 weekly series going on. Man, I just don't know if it warrants a weekly series or a series at all. But that's just the concept is interesting to me. But
if you're still into Wolverine after all,
yeah,
after all that's gone on, sure, I guess it does.
Like I said in the previous weeks, Death of Wolverine has been a fantastic series because it's just so well written. Charles Soule, however you pronounce his name, is a fantastic writer, and he's actually co-writing this weekly series as well. He's writing Death of Wolverine. He's writing part of the spin-offs as well. He just really has a good handle on Wolverine. So that's kind of why I'm interested in the concept, and because he's co-writing it. So, we'll see. It's a lot of money, though, for a 4th weekly series going on with everything else. Speaking of new series at Marvel, Ant-Man gets a new series. It's Scott Lang Ant-Man, which makes perfect sense because Scott Lang's going to be in the movie. So, there you go.
And the preview art was halfway decent, and that old fanboy of me likes Ant-Man in that clunky outfit, red outfit with the helmet and with the ants again, and that's harkening back to his first ever appearances in the Marvel universe. So hey, they say that he's in a new town, starting out a new job, and hey, I might give this a shot. Looks interesting.
You should. Nick Spencer's writing it, and he writes Superior Foes of Spider-Man, writes Avengers World, and for Image he writes Morning Glories. And personally, I think he's a really good writer as well. So I can give it a shot.
Yeah, well, I miss the old, Ant-Man. I mean, over the career of this character's span, he's become Giant Man and what was it, Yellow Jacket and blah 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 blah. And, hey. Like I said, there's a nostalgic part of me that would like to see an Ant-Man series again. So it looks like this will fit that bill.
Yeah. What were you going to say, John?
Oh, I was saying I'm a little behind on my Marvel. Where's his daughter right now?
Dead.
Okay, well, there you go.
But she'll be back in Marvel Zombies later on.
Probably, yeah. Guess that warrants a move to a new town then.
Yeah, definitely. Nice segue, though, Ron. Marvel has been putting out these teasers.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I alluded to at the beginning of this show.
Yeah.
Teasers. Nothing but. It's chicken wings with no meat on them. All right?
Oh, you want to see in press releases.
Big pieces of bone, but no meat.
Yeah. After we announce the teasers, I'll give you a theory that somebody on Comic Frontline came up with, though.
Okay.
The first one of these, we'll just mention this. This was actually the second one that came out, I think, was the Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies. For anybody that read Age of Ultron, it was awful. And Marvel Zombies is so overplayed at this point. It's okay.
The concept is awful, so
yeah.
Put them together.
Yeah, the joke's pretty much limited to the title.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So the other one, Civil War, which we've already talked a lot about Civil War, but they did a Civil War teaser. Civil War #1 coming summer 2015, and the latest one is Years of Future Past, which is of course riffing on Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Secret Wars, too.
Yeah, don't forget Secret Wars. Well, that's the one. That's the one they're going to bring Wolverine back.
Okay, Secret Wars is different because that's actually confirmed as a year-long series.
Right, and they're going to time travel, go to alternate worlds, and man, if that don't smack like
I'm the new Wolverine.
Right, here comes the new Wolverine.
Yeah. Now, okay, here's the theory I wanted to mention. Jay from Comic Frontline thinks that these all 4 tie in together because right now in the Avengers books, there's a storyline called Time Runs Out. And every month the solicitation copy has been like 8 months, time runs out, 7 months, time runs out, 6 months. So by summer of 2015, time has run out. And what he thinks is they are bouncing through time to these various events, Civil War, Days of Future Past, all this stuff, and having to fix something to prevent the outcome that's happening in the Avengers titles, which is the multiverse collapsing in on itself.
Oh God, they're doing 0 Hour.
They are.
Yep.
And Secret Wars is Jonathan Hickman, who is writing the Avengers books, is writing Secret Wars, and it's a year-long series exploring his take on Secret Wars. So, yeah.
I knew there was a reason we weren't running these things.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that the press releases are just an image and nothing else.
Right. It's a tease.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Oh, that's the big Marvel Comics news.
Makes me cry.
Yeah.
Oh, they do have one actual other piece of news that we kind of skipped.
Okay.
Well, it's not really news. Do you all remember that documentary they put up on ABC back in March?
Oh, thank you. I did forget.
Yeah, the movie, the documentary about the movies.
Right. Yeah. On ABC, they did it in prime time. It was a special.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing another one. This is called From Pulp to Pop, Marvel's 75 Years.
Right.
They're doing another documentary on Tuesday, November 4th, which will be the upcoming Tuesday by the time you all hear this.
Yeah, and hosted by Emily Van Camp. Who was Sharon Carter in Captain America Winter Soldier and plays Emily Thorne on Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So check it out if you're interested. If not, go. It's Tuesday at 9. So
it's election day. That's the way you remember.
Yeah, it's election day. So no Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that day.
So go do your patriotic duty. Come home, have a beer, and watch the Marvel documentary.
Yeah, and that first one was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll get to hear Stan talk because I'm sure he's going to be all over half of it.
I mean, every other commercial will be a voter tally, latest update, election returns. But what the hell,
Yeah.
Oh, it'll probably at least around here, they just have it scrolling 24/7.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh
man.
Okay.
All right, so that's all the news we have. Unless anybody else has anything else to add.
All the news and teasers, I should say.
Yeah.
All the news that's unfit to print.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, so it's time for a Facebook shout out.
Oh!
Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud. Shout it, shout it, shout it out loud.
And Ron, you have the honors this week.
I do. And hey, this is really cool. It's been a while, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, our latest like on the Zone 4 Facebook page is Chris Therrell. And I hope I pronounced that right, Chris. What I've been able to dig up, since my people out there checking out things, he's the owner CEO of the Pineapple Train Records. That's WRECKORDS. Now, very clever, right? Pineapple Train Records. He went to the College of the Redwoods in Eureka, California, and he's originally from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and now lives in Gotham, Wisconsin. So, hey, I wonder if he's run into Harvey and the rest of the gang,
Yeah.
His likes that he's listed on his page, he's into sports big time, and some of the teams that he enjoys are the Philadelphia Flyers, the Miami Heat, the Portland Trail Blazers, and believe it or not, guys, a little international flavor here, he likes Indian cricket. So there you go. Take out your wicket and hit the cricket or whatever. Music, he likes Taylor Swift, Alexa Blue, and Rochelle Diamond. And let me just say, those are all very, very attractive and talented young ladies. App games. He lists things like Sword Saga, Shadow, Heretic Kingdom, Dunkist, Heyday, and Think Geek. So obviously he's a soul brother to all of us. Chris Therrell, welcome to the Zone 4 Loyal Legionnaire family. Thanks for signing on. And hey, it's been such a long time. Kudos. Brant, how can anybody else have this kind of fun?
Well, all you have to do is head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Zone4Podcast and hit the like button, and eventually we will shout you out on the show. And even though it's been a while since I've said that, the spiel is ironed into my brain. So there you go.
You did that rather well. Yeah, and I'm just thinking, because I was talking, like I said, I'm constantly surprised sometimes, and I'm sure the same has happened to the three of you. If I'll go to a con and somebody will walk up to me out of the blue who's a listener and starts, yakking about Zone 4. And only just recently, like I said, I met up with my buddies yesterday, and the first thing they did was start talking about last week's episode. So, we've got loyal Legionnaires out there. So come on, hit the like button on Facebook and let us shout you out, please.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that brings us to the part of the show where we go around the table and see what everybody has coming up, coming out, and going on. And I apologize to both my co-host and our listeners for not having all our details in the show notes. I meant to go back and add them later, and I did not. I will try to add everything this week, though. So,
Ooh. All right.
Yeah. So, let's sorry, Ron. Let's flip this up. Let John, you go first.
Oh, shock. Okay. Now I have to think of what I'm doing. No. Seriously, I am, as Brant said, I am going to be going into the Top Cow contest, but in other stuff, I've decided to do a sketch a day to kind of hone my own art skills, as I will be drawing a lot of my own stuff in the coming weeks and months. So actually the first one's already up on Facebook if people want to check it out. Kind of came out a little elongated. I did it with a phone instead of a scanner. That was probably a mistake. So, go check that out. Speaking of my own stuff, I am just about to get started on the script for the Woman in Red reboot. I think I'm all ready to go ahead and jump into the story now. So I'll be doing that. I need to get a submission into the folks at Pro Se Productions. I came up with an idea for their Pirates and Monsters thing, so I'm going to attempt that as soon as I can get my external hard drive that has all my personal writing on it to be recognized by my computer. Right now it's misbehaving.
Oh no.
And not giving my stuff up, so that could be a problem. Let's see. In addition to that, I of course color New Comic Day every week, usually moments before it's supposed to go up. But I do color New Comic Day, and then I also, as I've said many times, post about half the stuff on, or actually not half, about a third of the stuff on comic related every week. So go check all that fun out.
Cool. Awesome. Ron, what about you?
Okay. Busy as ever. One of the things I do want to mention is what came out this past week, which I'm really happy about. Actually, 2 books from Airship 27 were released in the last 2 weeks. And one of them, an unusual children's book for us that I wrote many, many years ago and was recently illustrated by my good friend Gary Carter, who does the Mr. Jigsaw series for me. And it's called Jamie and the Fish-Eyed Goggles. Again, it's a children's book, profusely and colorfully illustrated by Gary. The story about a boy and a girl who go into a library one summer day and find a pair of magic goggles, and what happens when they put them on and how they see the world through these goggles. The book's available at Amazon, both in the hard copy and for Kindle, and I'm already starting to get some really, really nice reviews, particularly from grade school teachers who are enjoying it a great deal. Age appropriate, I think the book would really work well if you have youngsters in the family, nieces, nephews, or whatever, between the ages of 8 and 11. Again, Jamie and the Fish-Eyed Goggles, please check it out. It's something I'm really, really proud of. The next released from Airship 27, and I could not be happier because we got it out for Halloween. Perhaps one of the scariest, most bizarre, gruesome pulp characters from the 1930s was a character called the Purple Scar. And I mean, this is one of the few Avenger type pulp characters that had a phenomenal element of pure horror in it. And the Purple Scar scared the living daylights out of the criminals he went up against. And he appeared in backup stories in the golden days of the pulps, and was never given his own title or never had a collection. And now Airship 27 has released the Purple Scar Volume 1. It features 4 brand new adventures of this particular and unique pulp character, and has a cover that is so bloody stunning. It was done by Canadian artist Richard Serraro and colored by Shannon Hall. And man, check out my Facebook page or Airship 27's Facebook page to see this cover. It'll blow your mind. It's the perfect book to read on Halloween, and it too is also available from Amazon as a hard copy and on Kindle. Okay? So those are 2 things we've got out from Airship 27 that I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted about. I'm still writing 2 new comic series, pulp related, for Moonstone Comics. One is called Black Bat Domino Lady Danger Coast to Coast, which our amigo Brant is lettering. The first issue, all art-wise, is complete, and I keep kicking Brant here every week to get that lettering done. And Mike Dorman, the artist on the project, is now well into the 2nd issue. At the same time, I've taken over the writing chores for a second pulp anthology series called Guns of the Black Bat. And this is pretty much imagining the 1930s pulp heroes all coming together under the Black Bat's command. Issue 1 has been fully illustrated by an Argentinian artist named Silvestre Savini. Guys, his artwork is gorgeous. I am drooling seeing this stuff, and he's just started working on the 2nd issue right now. So those are the 2 regular series that I've got in the works. And the last thing I want to mention, and I will mention again in the next couple of weeks, as we get close to Halloween, I will be a guest at the Rocky Mountain Con taking place at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Denver, Colorado. That's maybe 4 miles from Denver International Airport. And my artist on one of the Black Bat series, Mike Dorman, will also be there. Chad Harden will be a guest there. Mike Barron, and one of the classic artists from DC from the 60s and 70s, Bob Hall, has just signed on to be one of the guests. So it looks to be a really fantastic show. That's October 25th and 26th. So if you're anywhere in the Denver area, please stop on by. We'd love to see you. And that's what's keeping me busy, guys.
Awesome. Lots of great stuff going on. Gordon, what about you?
Okay, well, I'll keep mine short and sweet. Tall Pope, I have a story, Crossing McCausland. Go ahead and order it via Pro Se Productions. And I am working on the charity auction for Chicago TARDIS. We are accepting donations of memorabilia, and we're auctioning in benefit of the Northern Illinois Food Bank. For more details, head to chicagotardis.com and click on charity auction.
Awesome. And not too much for me. Still working on the Salient Comic stuff. Obviously, Ron's book that he has referenced earlier.
I will for week to week till it's done.
And soon, minute to minute.
Yeah, I'm plating various things, lettering various things, and a lot going on. New Comic Day entered this weird arc that with Kamen Rider. John can vouch for ignorance on that as well. I've never watched Kamen Rider. Let's see, anything else going on? I guess the Walking Dead episode of the special episode of Zone 4 that we do each season was delayed a week. We couldn't get our schedules quite together this week to do it, so we'll be doing it next week, and we'll cover the first 2 episodes of the season. And upcoming on Halloween, we here on Zone 4 are going to be doing our special Halloween episode. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a lot of fun with it as we do each and every year. Can't think of anything else except for stuff that I've mentioned before, like Singularity, Rise of the Posthumans, due out at Christmas time. Pick it up. And that's it for me. So, Ron, take us out.
Alrighty. We'd like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Raywall Band and Society's Play, that you hear on the show each and every week. We are also proud members of the Comic Related Podcast Network. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for us, especially about episode 300, send them in, please. Send those to zone4@comicrelated.com. And as always, hey, thanks for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, all!
See ya.
Here comes the Human Torch, flying up ahead. Member of the Fantastic Four, led by Mr. Fantastic!
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.
Honk!